Coach, this year's team a little bit different from previous teams at Johnson. What are your expectations heading into the 2011 season?
Well, last year we were extremely young. Even for us, we only had a few returning seniors, a handful, and so a lot of these guys got a lot of playing experience young, and they're coming back with experience. So I definitely think it'll be a step forward from last year, and I think they realize it. So they've been working really hard, and they have a great work ethic so far.
Coach, what would you say, moving forward, I know it's early, but what would you say are going to be the strengths of this team this year?
We get a returning running back that rushed for over 1,200 yards, and the experienced offensive line coming back. So that would probably be the strength. And those same guys are playing on defense, rotating on defense. So our fronts are pretty solid. I would say that's our strength.
Cedric Harris is one of those special kinds of backs. He had 1,200 yards last season. What kind of sets him apart on the field?
Number one, he works really hard. Number two, he learns. He's a quick learner because, again, last year was his first year playing running back. Also, he has a great mentality as far as it's about we, it's not me. So he understands what everybody's doing and what their roles are and what their assignments are. So it helps him to make great decisions while he's running.
I know obviously the past 3 years, one of the most exciting games, kind of the one that especially us outsiders look forward to every year is the Battle of Oakwood. What has made that game such a just outstanding competition between you and West Hall?
Well, number one, both schools are very similar, and and with the tough region that we're in, we're both fighting uphill battles, and when we get to face each other, we know it's kind of a level playing field, and also they're right down the road, so the kids get really excited. You don't really need a big speech for that game. That's bragging rights, and they get really excited about it.
Teams are always affected by injuries, Coach, but you guys affected a little bit more in the recent past. How has that kind of affected you, and does this year's team have the ability to kind of overcome injuries like that?
I would say 2 years ago was our worst injury situation. But when you only have a few seniors and juniors on the team, then all of a sudden, a couple of people get hurt. On previous teams I've had in other schools, you have 2 or 3 good backups plus a guy that only plays defense that could play offense if you need him, that could step in and do a great job. But with us, it's got to be a young guy, a freshman coming in or a sophomore. So injuries do hurt a little bit more. This year I feel like we do have, when we say a second defense or a second offense, those guys are pretty legitimate. Are they ready to be starters full time yet? Not quite, but they're not too far off. Kind of like I think we talked about the West Georgia camp. When I went with the second group against the other team starters and some pretty good schools and big schools, I wouldn't say they looked great, but they held their own. So that gave me optimism on having depth. If somebody does go down, we can still be okay.
Coach, I know not to make light of a certain situation, but kind of a hot topic this summer has been the heat. It's just been ridiculously hot. There's been some restrictions put in place by Hall County schools, Gainesville City schools. How has that affected y'all? How has the heat in general affected the way y'all have gone about practice?
It's very hot, and the fact with all the incidents we've had in the state and neighboring states and around the country, but mostly in the South, it scares you to death as a coach. And you try to do everything you can. Like we go our heaviest stuff in the morning, and as the day goes on, by our second practice is over by 1, but even by then we've already taken the shoulder pads off and just gone helmets by the last half of the day, really.
And everybody always excited going into the season. What kind of excites you about this coming year, and what kind of excites your players as well as we enter the 2011 season?
Well, again, it's essentially all but about 4 or 5 kids, the same team as last year. So the fact that they never gave up last year and gave themselves a shot to play in the playing game, and they, still had a shot at the playoffs, they still have that same mentality, but they're a year older and a year more experienced, and they're excited. They're excited to come back because they know they have a shot at competing. So they're ready to get out there and make a run for it. And our goal is to make the playoffs, which it's eluded us for a while now, but that is absolutely one of our goals.